Going over to question 7 now. Based on the text, what is true about the person's acquaintances? And let's start reading. So the text is coming from a certain novel. She was a woman of strong individuality whose comments upon her acquaintances, present or absent, were marked by a frankness, at times no less than startling. This characteristic caused her to be more or less avoided. She was aware of this sentiment on the part of her acquaintances and rather exulted in it. So there's a little bit of vocab here, but the main character had strong individuality. She had comments that were very frank. Frank means very honest. And they were marked by a frankness that was startling. It was no less than startling. And this caused people to avoid her. She was aware that people were avoiding her, and she kind of exulted in it. In other words, she kind of enjoyed it. She kind of wallowed in it a little bit. And so, what is true about her acquaintances? They were annoyed by her comments. She's too open, too honest, and they were avoiding her a bit. So, which answer says that? A, they tried to refrain from discussing topics that would upset her. It wasn't really about her being upset, it was about her being someone who didn't have a filter. A, they're unable to spend as much time with her as she would like. I'll go for that if there's nothing better, because it's not that they have other commitments or anything, it's that they don't like her. So C, they're too preoccupied with their own concerns to speak to her. It wasn't that they were too busy, it was that they didn't like her. And D, they're likely offended by what she has said about them. And at this moment, we kind of see similar value to B and D. But what's the difference? Well, if they're offended by what she said about them, where would we see that in the text? And we do actually see it. Her comments were marked by a frankness, and those were comments that were upon her acquaintances, present or absent. So let's go through that again. She would make comments about people, about people she knew, whether they were there or not. So, in other words, she's a gossiper talking about people who are absent, and they're overly open and honest comments. So, she's talking a lot without a filter about people who are maybe not even there. And so they're offended by what she has said about them. She's a gossiper. And the answer here is D.